Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the northeast corner of the map, playing in red, we've got beastyqt playing as the Byzantines. And battling out against them today, spawning in the southwest in blue, we've got May, playing as the Delhi Sultanate. Welcome everyone to Gorge. As always, hope you're having a fantastic morning, maybe a good afternoon, who knows, maybe even a good evening. What I do know is that we're going to be having a cracking game of Age of Empires 4. We are on the new patch. Now you might be wondering, well, why have I been so slow to update and upload games from the new patch? Well, it's primarily because we had some cracking games from Season 8, which I kind of wanted to make sure we didn't waste. But Season 9 is upon us, and we've got two great civilizations. In fact, these two civilizations were actually very good even in Season 8. What I'm super excited about is actually the timings on this one. So, you got the Byzantines, which we know all about, very powerful civilization. They've got the cistern, which of course, you can get villagers working extra hard, 10% extra gather rate on these guys right from the get-go, which does scale quite nicely as the game develops and you do get more cisterns, connecting them up with aqueducts, increase the water level, and eventually you start to increase the villager gather rate too. But also, more importantly, is the synergy with Conscriptio. With the high water level, the military production buildings have their production rate increased. And so both go hand in hand, and they really do peak quite nicely by the Castle Age. It's often the time that they get the water level pretty high up. And that's when the Byzantines really start to come online. But you know what? They can do pretty well in the Feudal Age as well. Speaking of Feudal Age, that's really where the Delhi Sultanates shine. Although there has been a bit of a playstyle going towards the late Imperial Age. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but the timings for the Delhi are certainly very fast early on. Looking to get plenty of Ghazi raiders, and they scale incredibly well now into the Castle Age, considering that the tech up researchers are actually, they've been buffed. They take a lot less time now, and they're free, of course. So it's a civilization that's had a lot of changes. Actually, to be fair, I wouldn't say a lot of changes. Small tweaks, but they have big ramifications. And the reason for that is because these small changes of reduced research time, it plays a big role. There used to be a scenario where the Delhi Sultanate were very heavy committed to the Feudal Age. When they get to the Castle Age, it took a long time for them to actually really develop the upgrades, to get the army that they have established, to get them to the veterancy status. So what often happened, Delhi Sultanate would kind of throw away a bit of the army in the Feudal Age, and then rely on sort of the heavily armoured Castle Age units like the Lancers, the Man-at-Arms, the crossbows. But now the Delhi can actually reliably keep their army alive, and take advantage of them in the veterancy status. And the reason why that's so important is because actually, the Delhi used to tail off in the early Castle Age. And actually now, their Castle Age is pretty solid. Dome of the Faith certainly going to be able to help reduce the tech up times because of, obviously the more scholars you have, the quicker the researchers come on in. Well, actually, I say that, the more scholars you have inside the mosques anyway. What happens with the Byzantines is kind of interesting because their Castle Age timing is great, but their kind of strength lies perhaps more in the mid to late Castle Age. What I'm really curious about is with the Delhi Sultanate and how strong that their elephants will be, because in this recent patch, there's been a lot of changes to infantry. In fact, infantry have really generally got a nerf. They've been hit pretty hard with the elite army tactics, not as strong as it once used to be. And the reason why that's so significant is, of course, a big counter to the elephants are spearmen. And they are infantry, and they are melee units, so they'll struggle a little bit. Now bear in mind also that the bombards, which was another unit often typically used to try and take down elephants, their base damage have been reduced, so that could equally become a bit of a problem. Great for the Byzantines is that actually, whilst a lot of civilizations they go up against do like to go to the Castle Age and play that kind of route, they force the issue. They look to get into the sacred sites, force the enemy onto the map, and force the enemy into making units, which is not always necessarily the game plan. And the Byzantines can get away with it and do pretty well with it, but the Byzantines do like to get to that Castle Age and get those heavily armoured units. And with Grand Winery, though, he will be able to make those units. A couple of mercenary houses could be pretty useful for him. Kind of curious to see what beast he goes for in terms of contract, whether he goes for longbows. Kind of expecting to see that because he's already got the stables built, so unless he's going to go horsemen and keshiks, that will be a little bit awkward. What is a little bit awkward is actually the positioning of this. I guess Beasty's not expecting to be sort of all-in pushed, but if he is, these production buildings on the forward position is kind of rough, right? Because if a ram or two comes out, The Delhi could potentially challenge this position. Not expecting to necessarily see that. The Byzantines should be able to generally keep up with unit production, but the Delhi can ramp up the numbers very quickly. Considering, of course, that the scholars, when they do garrison inside the production buildings, they double the rate of production of them. So you can see the 1 out of 1 there. For the new players of Age of Empires 4, it means a stable is essentially working, well, doubly hard. So he's kind of acting as if he's got 2 stables at this point, really. Mass Geyser Raiders will give him a lot of mobility on the map. There's the blacksmith. Going to be looking to queue up those free technologies from the blacksmith, of course. Water level 2 in for Beastie now, so the gather rate will be 14% in total at the moment, and he's going to be getting his own blacksmith as well. Bit of an engagement there on the outskirts of that sacred site. And what's kind of cool about this map is that the fact that there's actually there's very little in between the 2 players. Very short rush distance, very short travel distance, and it can be difficult for the Byzantines because, of course, the Delhi with the mass units they make, they'll be able to apply pressure nice and early. As you can see, that's happening at the moment. He's really got the map positioning here, Delhi. May should be able to look to even get the deer camps if he should wish to. One thing to bear in mind as well, that actually a new playstyle for the Delhi is that professional scouts is being used a lot more. In fact, I mean, the technologies were always free, but now I think with the easiness of picking up the deer camp with the scouts, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Delhi bring those carcasses back home. I wonder whether Beastie will look to try and do that with the Byzantines to try and deny them, get professional scouts himself, but the only problem here is he's actually being pressured on the berries. The Gazi is trying to get some value on this, and this is great for the Delhi because what this does, it forces Beastie away from the berries, which is valuable food, but more importantly, is valuable olive oil. Does have a batch of longbows as we speak, with steeled arrows, so we'll be able to get some damage in. Kind of curious to see how much May commits to the feudal age. No reason to necessarily change anything because it's getting a lot of map positioning and it's forcing Beastie into some outposts. Now, in this bit of downtime, I would like to say a very big thank you for everyone who's been supporting the channel, whether it be on Twitch or YouTube. You guys are absolute legends. If you have been enjoying the content, maybe you watched a couple of the games so far, maybe 2 or 3 castle games, you've been enjoying it, make sure that you have hit the subscription button. It's completely free, of course. More importantly, though, make sure you've hit the notification bell so that you get a little bit of a ping pong when I do upload a video, which is usually every other day, roughly. And I make it a point just to upload the very best games I cast. I just basically discard the ones that aren't particularly good because I know that everyone's short of time and you don't want to click on a video unless you know it's going to be a good one. And so, although it's a bit subjective, it's my opinion that I think the game is a good one. Hopefully, my opinion's not too far away from everyone else's. Yes, the first sacred site has been capped now at 8 minutes. And the Delhi are going to start to get that gold trickling on in, which is all really good for getting up to the castle age eventually. Oh, Ghazi Raiders going to engage. Now, of course, the Ghazi Raiders should win in a straight fight up against the horsemen. In equal numbers, that is. But the longbows, if they camp out there, should be able to offer some measure of ranged attack as well. Now, all 3 sacred sites are actually already capped. And this is what we were talking about earlier on the cast. The Delhi, they force their enemy out onto the map. There's no way that Beastie can think about going to the castle age. No. He has to get on the map. And a big thing to consider as well is actually Beastie's actually transitioned to olive groves relatively early. And a lot of that's down to the fact that he doesn't really have much map control. And that's great for the Delhi rather, because it means that they can continue to mass up units. The Byzantines shouldn't really be able to keep up too easily. Although, as I say that, actually, it's equal in military numbers. I guess getting the mercenaries certainly helps. I wonder if professional scouts is in just yet. It's coming in. So, a little while away, but be coming in eventually. Yeah, and this is certainly where it becomes a little bit awkward, right? Because you can see here, being pressurized a little bit. Oh, might lose a scout here, mate. Won't want to lose that, ideally. Ghazi Raiders get there in time, and just as well, because he'll want that scout for the professional scouts to work its wonders. Looks like he'll be fine on that front. A Beastie looking to wall up round the north, and rightly so, because there's actually a decent patch of berries and gold there to be taken. Looking to contest the sacred site down in the south, but the timer is still ticking. This will be a little bit harder here for May to defend. There's quite a few horsemen here. this number of Ghazis, maybe he should be able to take the fight. Yeah, Beasty's just pulling away, can't really engage just yet. Back at home, looks like May's thinking about Castle Age. Seems to be the way for Beastie as well, actually, as it happens. And I suspect the Delhi will get there quicker, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Look how many Ghazi raiders he's made, and he's still going to get to the Castle Age quicker. That really is the powerhouse of the Delhi Sultanate. One thing to note, though, in terms of food resources and sustainability, with the olive groves in for Beastie, his food income should be a bit more stable into the Castle Age, and there might be a bit of a downtime for the Delhi being able to make mass units because of the fact that he needs a bit of a food transition at some point. Unless he really does start to get the deer carcasses in, which is, you know, it's quite possible. He loses the scout, unfortunately, so that guy won't be bringing any deer carcasses, and it will be the House of Learning. Interesting choice of landmark, I've got to say. Of course, two options for them, really. Compound of the Defender, giving them cheaper keeps, and then the House of Learning, which I think is going to be a bit more of a prominent choice in Age of Empires 4 in Season 9, especially with, obviously, with the Delhi, because, well, hear me out. So, before the siege rework, there often in the Castle Age was a lot of siege played, and it meant that trebuchets weren't really that prominent in the Castle Age because of the fact that springles were always made, and if you have to make trebuchets, then you have to make springles, right? So, I think, interestingly enough, we'll talk about it in just a moment because that scholar's probably going to go down. Does go down. Longbows trying to push forward. I wonder whether Beastie, you know, as he is going up to the next stage, Golden Hall Tower, I don't know if he really wants to engage this. Maybe just trying to keep his enemy away from him. But yeah, on that thought, hear me out. It's a bit of a long thought process, but we'll get there. It's a pretty interesting one as well. Right, so siege. Now, trebuchets we should be able to be seeing a lot more often. And the reason why is because previously, before the siege rework, if you had to make trebuchets, you had to make springles. And it's always very expensive to make both. The reason why you had to make both is because your enemy, if you want to counter trebuchets, they make springles. So if you're making trebuchets, your enemy makes springles, you just lose your trebuchets. That's a lot of resources down the drain. And the only way to counter your enemy springles is, well, your own springles. But you can't afford to do everything. You can't afford to make both trebuchets and springles. So hopefully you get that idea. And so the reason why that's so important now is because actually before keeps were very hard to push against. He's going to lose a lot of villages here, May, on that gold vein, which is pretty bad because he needs that gold for premium units. Yeah, but just to finish that thought, so if you have keeps of your own, in Season 8 it was very hard to get rid of because trebuchets weren't really a thing and you could buy yourself a lot of time. But now we should be able to expect to see more trebuchets because springles are no longer anti-siege. They kind of work a bit like scorpions in Age of Empires 2 where they do sort of a bit of a splash damage in a way against enemy infantry. So trebuchets are a little more viable, and I guess that makes sense why Compound of the Defender will be less kind of expressive on this kind of matchup, or general matchups anyway, because of the fact keeps are a lot easier to take down. But obviously there's the other element, which they do act up as town centers, which is incredibly powerful. But it's like May is just going to try and put pedal to the metal, get a lot of damage in. He's going to lose that scholar in the end to the longbows, but the great thing for May is that he should be able to clear out this army. And that's a big deal because whilst he does have the veterancy of the long... Oh, he's got veterancy of both, to be fair. So they're getting good value here, Beastie, at least. But he's going to lose most of his army, which is a big deal because now I suspect May's going to look to try and pick up the vast majority of the relics, if not all of them. Wallow down the middle. Should be able to survive and get that relic back home pretty quickly, especially considering the Ghazi Raiders are on the chase. Yeah, so certainly I suspect we're going to be seeing a lot less of the Compound of the Defender and more of the House of Learning. Especially if he looks to get these upgrades that can somewhat bridge the gap of more town centres. But it certainly suits the more aggressive playstyle. If he does place more keeps and more town centres, of course it will be a bit of a slower push in the Castle Age. And it looks like May looking to try and take advantage of his Castle Age. Got the man-at-arms already out and trying to chase down those longbows. He's already picked up 2 relics, one more on the way. Beastie picked up 1 as well. And it certainly is going to be a bit of a dash for those relics. Interesting start to the game. Both players now in the Castle Age. We're going to start to see a transition into cataphracts. Do we see any elephants coming out? Not quite yet. He can't really afford it, right? He's just spending everything he's getting. He's got units scattered around the map. One thing that's really great for the Delhi, though, as we're just seeing it now, is that they're able to place palisades with the infantry that they have. The reason why that's so important is because, well, for everyone else, they have to use villager building time, right? And, you know, villagers that are building means they're not gathering. resources for the Empire. So it's just a bit of a perk there for the Delhi, especially if the units aren't really, you know, active in doing something. You can just build palisade walls whilst they're waiting for fighting. Just pick up one of the sacred sites down the middle. Yeah, so it looks like May's going to get the lion's share of the relics, as you'd expect for the Delhi, because they often have a lot of scholars on the map, courtesy of just, you know, having them because of the Dome of the Faith landmark. Really big core element of this civilization. It's a bit of a quiet phase of the game, although these guys are raiders looking to shake things up a little bit. It's going to be a bit of an issue here for Beastie. He doesn't really have anything in the way of army, and it's going to use a handful of villages at the very least. Here come the cataphracts, though. Now, the real question that I do wonder is whether Beast is going to add more town centres of his own. It's actually something that the Byzantines have typically done in the past in the Castle Age. In fact, quite a few of the new civilizations from the Sultans and Ascend DLC, you know, they typically do that. The Japanese, the Ibids, to get to the Castle Age, they add in more town centres. The problem is, usually they have a lead time in the Castle Age, and they're usually picking up the relics. It's hard here for the Byzantines because they used to be able to get to the Castle Age first, pick up the relics, but the Delhi, you know, they're beating them to it there today. 4 relics and 2 sacred sites in play. That's going to put the Delhi in a good position in the mid to late game. Oh, I heard an elephant. Did you hear it? There we go. The war elephant out on the map, which does trample damage now, so it's going to be hard for the Byzantines to really take care of that, especially considering, of course, the elephants have an anti-cavalry element to them. Now, arguably the cataphracts should take out the man-at-arms. Massive trample damage coming on in. And whilst the cataphracts are the right unit here for the man-at-arms, the numbers are looking good. Here come the elephant, though, and he's going to be not wanting to take that fight, Beastie. Down in the south. You know what? He's not actually picked up any of the deer carcasses, would you believe, mate? Interestingly enough, would usually expect to see that, but instead he's got some farms up and running. And both players certainly making a lot of army. With Delhi, you find it hard for them to be outnumbered oftentimes, and well, that's not happening today either. Now the relic deposited inside the Grand Winery here for BC. Just a single relic he's been able to pick up on the map, and that will give him some olive oil. I certainly feel like May is in a good spot. Sure, he's 6 villages behind, but he'll be happy about having those 4 relics and 2 sacred sites. He could potentially take the fight. I mean, those man-at-arms will do well against the longbows. If they can get the trample damage comes out for the cataphracts. Going to surround the elephant if he can. But don't forget, the elephant does a lot of trample damage. Ghazi rays around the back, right on top of the longbows, which is exactly where they want to be. And the scholars looking to heal up as well. Is he going to be able to heal up the elephant? Looks like it. That is insane. He's got 10 scholars healing it up, and the cataphracts, they're going to back away. They do not want to take that fight. And this is so important to be able to keep this elephant alive. The Delhi Sultanate, they have returned with the mass scholar play, and they're doing it so well. Going to push on once again, and yeah, keeping the elephant alive is absolutely huge because it's just got so much healing potential, and it means there's so much efficiency. Massive trample damage again from Beastie, running right on through. Will the elephant go down? Oh, I'm not sure. It's going to be close. He's not actually healing up, but he does go down in the end. That's unfortunate. The scholars were healing themselves. They forgot about the elephant, but overall, it looks like a fight that actually May will win. That elephant soaked up a lot of damage, soaked up a lot of arrow fire. Looks like those longbows, they're going to be in trouble, although the crossbow numbers are starting to really build up, and this is where it's really interesting, right? You'd usually expect to see a mangonel or 2, but they're just not as good as they used to be. So the Delhi, not bothering with that, but a mass ranged army composition here for Beastie, which could become a problem if the elephant numbers start to stack up, but they're very expensive units. Wait, he's trading? We'll come on to that in just a moment. A couple of Ghazi raiders raiding around the back. Beastie, they can just camp out down the middle, but it looks like May's trading. Nothing in the corner. Interesting. So maybe he used a market to balance the economy. He figured, well, might as well add a couple of traders or 2 as well. Oh, this is a bit of a problem here for May. That one cataphract could do a lot of damage. I don't think the villagers can do that, really. They have to have army here to protect. Let's see what Beastie's up to. Yeah, there is that second town centre. Around about the 20-minute mark is looking to scale up his economy, get some more villagers, and work from there. Certainly fascinating game of Age of Empires so far. I think 2 very strong civilizations. If I was to make a civilization tier list, I definitely would be putting both of these as S tier. The question is, who will triumph today on Gorge? Of course, with the four relics, I was about to say 5, but didn't get the 5th one in the end. 4 relics, May's going to be great positioning for the late game if it heads there. With level 3 now, means that there should be a good 18% gather rate. And a good 60% extra buffering on the production buildings. Not quite as much as the 100% on these stables and barracks, courtesy of the scholars inside them. But looks like now Beastie looking to put a bit of pressure, maybe get some villager kills. Should be able to get a couple here. May a little bit crazy with those farms, a bit exposed. Cataphat's going to trample on through maybe on those villagers. No, they just about get away with it. Guards are raised around the back, trying to take out as many of the longbows as possible. Should be able to get the lion's share of them. Beastie going to push down through the main base though. Here come the man at arms though. Should be able to rescue the situation somewhat. 3 cataphracts might trample on through, but I mean ultimately it's an interesting combination here for Beastie, right? There's longbows and crossbows. Crossbows obviously do great against the man at arms. The longbows, yeah, they're becoming a little less relevant in the game. Maybe they could look to try and snipe the scholars if they can, but ultimately it feels like these longbows are starting to get a little less relevance in the game as the game wears on. Which makes you wonder, will he look to try and add in some Landsknechte? Maybe some Streltsy in the Imperial Age. Obviously, we're far away from that. And there was, well, I mean, this will ultimately be a nice cleanup here for me. A very nice cleanup indeed. Triple outpost on the Skullfin. It's got to be safe and secure, I guess. There we go. There's the addition of the Landsknechte. As we kind of expected to see. Now it should be quiet for a little while, at least from the Byzantines' point of view. The Delhi starting to add in a couple more farms. And once that economy starts to get online, I mean, bear in mind, you know, May has lost a lot of villages, but more importantly, Beastie has that second town centre, so this is starting to become a bit of a position in the map where actually both players have a slightly different kind of status at this point, right? You've got May with the Delhi with more army, less economy. Got Beastie with less army, but more economy. Did I say that the right way around? Either way, Delhi with less economy, more military. Beastie. The Byzantines, more economy, less military. At least for now. A couple of Ghazi raiders, not enough space for everyone in these outposts, so some good value for May actually as it happens. But you will need to address the fact that his enemy's on the second town centre. Either by taking some really good fights very quickly or adding a second town centre of his own. Now see Mahoots, making those elephants move 10% faster. Not to be underestimated actually, especially when you're dealing with ranged infantry units from the enemy. The quicker you chase them down, the better things go. Looking to really wall things up. Now, it has activated the Sacred Site timer once again, although Beastie just decapped it. Looks like May is looking to play this one out for the late game. Understandably so. Now, of course, the Delhi can't actually take the boar meat. A civilization, one of many that adhere to the Islamic tradition. I mean, they can't grab the boar meat off the map. Looks to wall up with his army. It's going to have a very safe and secure base, and the reason why he's walling, well, obviously going to give him some protection, but also it's going to buy him time to get to that Imperial Age. He's going to go with the Palace of the Sultan. This is where things become really interesting. Going to be able to get access to the Sultan's elite tower elephant. That is a unit to behold. Oh, Gaza's going to raid once again. And should again get some value here. At least 2 to 3 villagers should go down. Although this time there should be enough space in the outpost, I'd imagine. Yep, but not everyone gets there in time. A lot of them did, to be fair. And the cataphracts, I'm afraid, going to have no joy on the left side. May is fully walled up. And so he's going to get to the Imperial Age, and look at this, Beastie is nowhere near that. And this is the thing, right? When you lose your army in a fight, the reason why it's such a big deal is because, well, you're going to have to remake it, most likely, before going to the Imperial Age. And that's a lot of resources you have to spend towards that. It means that actually the Imperial Age is not on the cards here for the Byzantines. I mean, arguably, you could make a case to say that the Byzantines will never get to the Imperial Age. You can't necessarily call it too easily that way, but if the Delhi push when he gets to the Imperial Age, then it becomes a problem because Beastie will continuously need to make units. One thing that works though for the Byzantines is that, well, whilst the tech ups, the researchers have been reducing time a little bit for the Delhi, it's still an issue for them. So even with the Imperial Age, for the Delhi, it won't be like an instant power spike. There may still be a decent chance for Beastie to get to that Imperial Age, or at least get a sizable army to defend with and then get there. A bit of raiding with the man-at-arms. Forcing Beastie to stay at home, which is exactly what the Delhi want, right? He just wants his army to be able to upgrade themselves to the elite status, build up a force and push on out. And this kind of little bit of a squadron of army acting as a bit of a distraction, forcing Beastie to stay at home, where, you know, it's going to be least dangerous. The big question is, the next push, if it does take out a lot of these production buildings, could start to become a problem here for Beastie. Wait, is this open? Did they just walk through or something? Either way, considering the army compositions, with the elephants now starting to pop out, you can see a definite play into Limitae for the Byzantines. It's got a couple of Landsknechte as well, a couple of crossbows. Feels like Limitae and crossbows is probably the best approach here for the Byzantines, adding a couple of Landsknechte in there as well, courtesy of the olive oil. Because he's going up against man-at-arms and war elephants. The tithe barn's going to be great for the Delhi when it does come on in. Going to get that extra 40 food, extra 40 wood, an extra 10 stone per minute for each relic. A pretty big raid here around on the right side. It does have the Manganor emplacement, so they won't want to stick around here for too long. They are elite man-at-arms though, so they'll take a bit of a hit to the face with the rocks before they die too quickly. Now, this is a lot of army here for Beastie. 95 military units. Will the Limitae be able to push these elephants back enough? Walolo comes out and needs to buy some time, but that's a lot of war elephants. And do you know what? I think this army for the Delhi wins the fight. Especially if he can get close up. There's a lot of trample damage potential. A lot of healing potential as well with scholars if they do decide to pop out. Around the back though, even more raiding with man-at-arms right on that wood line. Oh no, there's so many villages going down. Beastie didn't spot it, and oh god, even with having the second town centre, he's actually behind on villager count, would you believe. Now he does have the water level 5, which will give him a whopping 26% extra gather rate. But the big problem for Beastie is he's really low on villagers. He's got a strong army. It looks like he's going to come in with a really strong castle age push. Maybe this is the time he needs to take a decisive fight and win it heavily if he has a chance, because he is miles away from the Imperial Age here for Beastie, and it doesn't look like he's going to get there anytime soon. And if he loses his army without doing significant damage, the Delhi, they're going to push back. Gyro Siphons though, they are a great unit for doing damage. You know, this army feels awfully isolated. There are units trickling in here for Beastie to add into the fight. Looks like it might be go time here for the Delhi. Elite army tactics is a long way away, but it will come in eventually. Not in this fight though. Man-at-arms tanking that front line. A lot of Limitae, a lot of Landsknechte. But those elephants are going to get so much trample damage. And we'll have to see how really good these elephants do. It looks like they're going to clear this out, would you believe? They're so high damage output units. And they're decimating that front line. The Limitae just can't hold on. There's still crossbows still remaining. He does lose 2 elephants there on the right, but so many of those still remain. Although Gyro Siphon, yeah, okay, Gyro Siphon goes down in the end. And it groups up together. Obviously, defender's advantage is in a great spot here for the Delhi. Going to pull back on the weak elephant. He might actually be able to make that survive. If he does, that's important. It means he'll be able to heal on up and then come again to fight. I mean, that's on 62 HP. There's still a decent amount left on it. Oh, now it does go down, so a couple of elephants still remain. But that fight, in the end, worked out really well for the Delhi, and of course the defender's advantage went a long way with that. Now Beastie, with equal villagers, a little bit extra army numbers, but the big key detail is the age that these two players are in. The Delhi in the Imperial Age, The Byzantines in the Castle Age. Alright, well, Beastie adding in a third town centre now. Recognizing that he'd lost a lot of villagers to the raids and looking to now replenish those. This is exactly what the Delhi want. He's had a lot of time in the Imperial Age. He's had a lot of time to get those upgrades. And, you know, they're all coming in thick and fast. Elite army tactics. I mean, that's still a long way away. How many scholars does he have in the mosque? Does he not have enough? It doesn't seem like he's got any actually as it happens, I think. It's probably part of the problem. The Delhi looking up to wall up the gold, and understandably so actually, because if you think about it, the way the Byzantines could struggle is the lack of gold. Of course they got the olive oil, that helps them a lot because their reliance on gold is a lot less now than say other civilizations, but it's still something that they want to have, right? Because you're kind of limited what you can make with olive oil. Of course you've got the mercenaries, and you will be able to have access to the foreign engineering company if he does get to the Imperial Age and chooses that landmark. But that's mostly siege engines, right? So they're less reliant on gold, but they probably still need it if, for instance, they want to make particular units like crossbows, man-at-arms, you know, the typical standard ones, I guess. What's going on here? Is it a wolf? It looks like it was a wolf. Yeah, it's still a wolf, chomping at the bit. Little bitey boy. Bitey infantry, they call him. Look at these walls. He's really trying to suffocate the Byzantines, make all sorts of trouble on the lands. He has got the university now, so he's going to get incendiary arrows, biology. Biology would be a really big one here for the elephants, actually, as it happens. And mate, he wants to try and attack this right-sided area. The Ghazi Raiders, by the way, they look so good in the Imperial Age. I mean, these outposts will eventually take care of them, but you'll be able to get a couple of villages at least. Well, the Delhi putting the Ghazi Raider name to the test, looking to try and raid with them. Karasefan coming around on the back. I mean, I guess he's going to go for a bit of a sustained push eventually, but he'll go to the next stage with the foreign engineering company. Bear in mind, Beastie, he's on 3 town centres. The Delhi only on 1, although I'm kind of curious to see how many traders he's got now. Well, maybe none. It's kind of weird. Maybe he lost the trader earlier on. Now, I guess his palisades won't go up in time in the end. Let's take a look at the army. So you've got crossbows, Limitanite. That's a heck of a lot of Limitanite. Holy moly. Got 45 of them. Mostly elephants. Like, you'd expect in this situation, that Beastie has got the direct counter units that he needs, right? He's got Limitanite for the elephants. He's got crossbows for the man-at-arms. Surely he's in a good spot. Now that he's in the Imperial Age, you need a bit of time to get the tech ups. Maybe the Delhi will push now. Looks like it. We have a saying on the channel that when you do age up, that's when you're most vulnerable. Might just show us exactly why we keep saying that. Because, well, it makes sense for him to push out now. Maybe he waits for Parliament, but that's a good 3 minutes away, right? So it feels like he's got to take a fight soon. He is population capped at 200, so no reason not to. He's got a good bank of resources, which to be fair, Beastie has as well, but the bigger issue is got to be the gold income. Look at that, 400 gold per minute and 0 for the Byzantines. Going to go for a keep on the right side and protect the stone, protect some key resources. There's some options of the Royal Cannon, the Hui Hui Pow, Nester Bees. Nester Bees could be quite important, although, yeah, we talked about how the forward production buildings could be an issue if it gets taken down. He's looking to challenge that area here, May. The big thing is that the man-at-arms should be able to stand tall against those Limitanites, the crossbows in the backline that might whip them up. But, okay, well, it looks like May gonna just retreat with the elephants. He's going to throw away everything else. He wants to keep the elephants alive. Quite a bit of raiding here as it happens, actually. A lot of idle time on these villagers, too. These now are elite Limitanite, elite longbowmen, elite crossbow. And you can see this mass infantry, despite it, the Delhi aren't feeling to go for the mangonels. The only mangonels today are on those mangonel emplacements. He's walling in the trade here, mate. He does not want Beastie to play any sort of late game. Look at this. What is going on? Some shenanigans for sure. Right down the middle. Might see a fight coming in soon. And understand me so, because, well, Beastie's got, he's got a full population cap himself. Whilst he's been playing a lot on the back foot in this match, all of a sudden now in the late Imperial age, maybe there's a way to push out, but this is a lot of elephants. Big concern is the trample damage that comes out from those war elephants. This elite sultans, elite tower elephant will do great range damage. He's going to take the fight. Now the longbows, they are firing so fast, and they've got the ability to take out a lot of the... I mean, to be fair, I don't know how effective the longbows are here actually. There's not too much they can necessarily target to do specific counter damage to, but look at this, the elephants, they're coming right down the middle, and they are absolutely demolishing this infantry-based army for the Byzantines. He's got 2 royal cannons, which are presumably there really to try and take out as many of the elephants as possible, but they just do such little base damage these days that actually they don't seem to fare too well against the elephants. And Limitanai, despite being the counter units, they are not doing half as much damage as is needed here. It does take out 1 elephant, but the charge continues. And now he's got all 3 sacred sites here made behind all of this. Byzantines, they're struggling, they're having to back away. They've taken a fight, but maybe he can wear this down with another batch of army. Reinforcements, obviously defender's advantage certainly helps. Of course, May should be able to reinforce his army too. It's a cracking fight here for the Delhi, no doubt about it. Going to get a keep on the sacred sites, and yeah, now we're starting to see a situation where actually the Delhi are starting to cement their position. It's got 2 sacred sites behind palisades walls, and this one, yeah, all 3 about to be behind palisade walls. But more importantly, the Delhi starting to get those keeps up, which are going to be a difficult situation to deal with. I mean, sure, he's got access to the royal cannons, but he's got to keep them protected. Oh, he's trying to wall his enemy in, trying to cause havoc for the economy, make it really messy. Elephant's now going around the right side, it seems. And of course the keep will offer a nice bit of protection. Going to go for the stone as well. Keep spamming. It's going to be nice here for the Delhi if you can get a couple more behind the sacred sites that are unguarded, at least in the form of static defenses. And keeps. Gets 2 more keeps on the sacred sites, then he should be in a really strong spot. 8.5 minutes still on the timer. Beastie, he's got a job ahead of him. Limitanai, I mean, this is similar to the army that he's just used, right? So it feels really hard here for the Byzantines. How do they deal with the Delhi elephants? Maybe royal cannons? It's often, they used to do that in the past. Question is whether they can continue to do that with the royal elephant, with the royal cannons not being what they used to be. And he continues to make those palisades here, May. Trying to make it as messy as possible. And certainly court architects would be helpful for those keeps. Increases the building health by 30%. Not too shabby. Now, has got access to this gold eventually, but I think that's the last gold that Beastie has access to. And this is where it's going to become a problem here. These elephants are going to absolutely wreck these production buildings. Of course, they double up as, great units to fight with, but also some great siege damage on them. That's exactly what's being put to the test. These royal cannons, it doesn't feel like they're doing enough here. He's going to raid with a couple of units around the back. The Ghazi raid is pulling away Limitanai. That's perfect play here for the Delhi. It forces the Limitanai to chase, and it allows the elephants now free reign on the front lines to do the structural damage. And it looks like May might be sealing this game out. Yeah, that's a lot of Limitanai to be pulling back, but he has to. Beastie has to keep their economy protected, and production buildings going down now is going to be an issue. In fact, Beastie is struggling on wood, which is not ideal because that's exactly what he would need to replace these buildings. Right down the middle, there's so many scholars healing up as well. 12 scholars. And in the choke points, it makes it even more difficult for the Limitanai to get a good surface area for fighting. And even with that, looks like the War Elephants with the trample damage should be able to make good work of this. We'll lose 1 on that front line, despite the healing coming out from the scholars. There's 4 royal cannons at this point. And May looks like he's being pushed up he's being pushed back a little bit as it happens, but I don't know if this is just for him waiting for the rest of his army to join together and then push once again. And do you know what? If he can heal up these two elephants, that would be a huge deal. He's lost one more. Gaza Raiders coming in from the left. The Mitanai now are backing away. They're actually handed... Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of archers coming in for the Delhi. They'd be great at sniping some of these Mitanai. So this Delhi war machine, 96 military versus 53. Yeah, he's probably just going to keep on pushing on. Bear in mind, behind all of this, we've got the sacred site timer double keep down on the left sacred site. Yeah, he really wants to make sure of that. Got the stone walls up on the right. And because he's fighting down the middle, he feels safe and secure not to have to put keeps down the middle. That's where he just needs to fight and win, and just win on the ground. But Beastie grouping up once again. But yeah, I feel like he's kind of running out of options. He is now starting to play with the royal cannons. He's tried Limitanite, he's tried crossbows together with them. Now it's the turn of the royal cannons. Can they be the ones that take down this mass elephant army? With a bit of a dash of man-at-arms and archers as well. But I love the fact that May's continuously being active with his army with his Ghazi Raiders, forcing the Byzantines to split up their army just so that they can be a little less efficient and effective. We'll probably lose the Ghazi Raiders in the end, but that's generally okay. Oh, it's going to hide in down between. I think the Mitanai can get those, but either way, right down the middle, we're going to start to focus on the production buildings once again. The royal cannons, they're focusing on the infantry rather than the elephants at this point. Probably needs to retarget those. But only 4.5 minutes on the clock. Man-at-arms going to get great value for the Delhi. The elephants, they're just surviving. And the mass heal really working out well for them. The Mitanai numbers starting to dwindle. Royal cannons on the back line. They just feel underwhelming. It's taken out a couple of the elephants, but doesn't feel like enough. Limitanite are all but gone almost. Man-at-arms going to charge that down maybe. Yeah, he looked to use forced march. And if you can take down the royal cannon, there's not much left behind this for the Byzantines. He struggled on gold. All he can really make is Limitanite and longbows at this point. And I think neither of them are going to be enough here to deal with this. The Delhi, plenty of resources in the bank as well as it happens. And if he does start to work on this stone wall, you get the feeling there's going to be no way in here for Beastie. It feels like the elephant numbers just keep on building up. Now wood could start to become an issue. Guards Raiders flanking around the right side, trying to get around the back to those royal cannons. Beastie, though, not taking the bait, does have a couple of Nester Bees, which would be great against the archers that the Delhi have. In fact, just the one Nester Bees as it happens, but he's focus firing on the back line from the Delhi. But look at the number of elephants and the surface area to fight there. It's actually really good for them because of the trample damage. Ghazi Raiders going around the back, pulling away a lot of the Limitanai. And he's going to try and stop the villagers building. No, the Limitanai focusing on the elephants, but I don't think he has enough. The royal cannons are a little bit exposed here as it happens, and the elephants... Jeez, they just don't die here. Ghazi Raiders right around the back. Again, Limitanai will deal with that eventually, but it means less Limitanai on the front lines to deal with the elephants. Elephant numbers now are starting to dwindle, but all May has to do is hold out for another 2.5 minutes. That's all he has to do. War elephants tanking on that front line. Only 4 of them. You can see how many Limitanai are there for Beastie. He might be able to deal with that in the end, but guess what? Another batch of war elephants coming right behind it. And stone walls are pretty much built. No, he did actually have to use villagers for that because he didn't have compound of the defender, but it doesn't matter at this point. He's got so many resources in the bank. And I think Beastie might be starting to running out of steam. Yeah, he doesn't have the food in the bank anymore for units. He's having to make those production buildings to try and spam out units, but elephants, he's kept out the Limitanai out of the way of the sacred sites. And there's nothing challenging the sacred site down the left or on the right. All the action is down the middle, but Beastie has not been able to break through. And you'd think there's a way through these elephants, but unfortunately Beastie has not been able to find the way today. Can't help but think these elephants are way too good, especially the war elephants. Have the Aoe4 developers kind of overshot the market a little bit here with the Delhi? Maybe overtuned them, overbuffed them. Certainly maybe you could make an argument to say, well, you don't want to let the Delhi get to the Imperial Age and this stage of the game, but I mean, it's easy said than done when they have such a strong feudal age, presence. When they have a really good castle age presence as well. You have to wonder which age are the Delhi vulnerable in. I'm not sure they have one anymore. With 89 military units versus 29, trying to break through on the west side. There is only palisade walls there, but there are 2 keeps behind this, right? So with a minute left on the clock, I think he's not going to break on through. Even those archers with incendiary arrows going to burn those guys down alive. And it looks like BC's going to fight till the bitter end. I'm not sure there's a way back for him. He's down on economy and he's only got 18 military units. Looks like the Delhi today will be triumphant. It's been a great game of Age of Empires. Nice one to break down, especially considering both civilizations are incredibly powerful. If you play either of these civilizations or even just you enjoy the game, let me know what you thought about this one. Do you guys think the war elephants are way too good? I actually think they are. It seems impossible to deal with. I'm not entirely sure how you go about this. But I hope you guys enjoyed this castle game. If you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.